See everybody. So
Oh,
use the chat. I'll do my best.
you're not introduced yet, so shut up.
Oh, this was going to be the pre-introduction before they know that I'm clever. It was like,
Yeah.
and like you'll look in all of the, and people are still joining in the library of all the wonderful things, and you will see literally hundreds of office hours from Crystal, and probably 75% of that amount by Eileen, and you will see a dozen by me, because I don't do recorded. I do other things.
But you do mastermind, and that's good.
That's what
too. We
I do.
just don't
Exactly,
record
Jenny.
them.
But
We don't record them, and we don't record book club. So I mentioned when Crystal was doing her thing, or when she was doing her authorpreneur introduction, and how fabulous she is on camera now. But those very first days when we first started, I'm still only a month out from 3 years ago. Anyway, I'll stop degrading myself, and then
That's right.
introduce me, and you'll think I'm clever, and then you'll just find it amusing. All right.
We think she's clever because we know that she is clever. So I am want to say thank you to everybody for coming out on a Friday night, even though, as we have already established, you didn't have anywhere else to go. So it is nice to see you, though, here on the pool deck. And we're doing a workshop that I really, really like, and I've had a chance to see this before. This is a workshop called No More Shitty First Drafts. And one of the things that I absolutely love about this workshop is it's such a good reminder for all of us as writers as to the power of words. And so how we use words and how we talk about ourselves, Donna, how we talk about our writing is so important, because it is how we sort of set the tone. So you will see here that we will gently remind people if you use negative terms about yourself or your writing, because don't worry, there's Kirkus and Publishers Marketplace and Goodreads for that. You should talk well about yourself. That's what we are here for. So I am very excited to have Donna here tonight to do our talk. Donna is one of the co-founders, along with Crystal and myself, for the Creative Academy. I would say that she brings the heart. She's always the one who makes me cry when we have our retreat. So thank you for that. Crystal's nodding because she does the same for her. Donna is the author of the book. Are you holding it up, Donna? Thank you. Scrappy Rough Draft, which is a book to sort of help people get through that initial draft. And it's not just if it's your first, but it is if ever you find yourself struggling in the different points of it, to kind of get you going. And she channels one of my favorite authors, Mary Roach, and really gets into the science of how we get into our own way, which, if you know my thoughts on things, it's usually our internal conflict that is the bigger problem. And so she really drills into that. She is also the author, Danica Bloom, in her other life. See if she'll hold that book up.
He just got the new cover as a paperback.
Woohoo! Which is Mother Teresa's Advice for Jilted Lovers, which is a lovely dark comedy, which I had the pleasure of reading initially a very long time ago, and have just loved to see it as it's come along.
That was, in fact, I didn't even know Eileen when she developmental edited my book. I won 50-page developmental edit from her, and then was like, you can't get rid of me.
I think it was going both ways. So it was kind of a mutual, like one of those little monkey things you used to have as a kid where they would clip onto each other.
Yeah.
So I am very excited to have Donna here, and she is going to lead us through. Donna.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So I can't see all the screens, and I can't concentrate on more than one thing. So I would love for you to be using the chat as I ask questions like, who's actually heard the expression shitty first draft before? This is, it's an expression that was introduced to me very, very early in my writing, when I first decided that I wanted to write outside of my career, which is as a technical writer. Okay, pretty well. And you love it. Who loves it? Susan loves it. And Denise hates it. Okay. So shitty first draft, it's from a quote, and it's from a quote from a book that is probably in the top 10 or at least the top 20 of all these books that we get told to read, you know, along with Stephen King's On Writing. We get told you have to read Ann Lamotte's Bird by Bird, Some Instructions on Writing in Life. And the quote is, and we'll read it, "Perfectionism is the voice of the oppressor, the enemy of the people. It will keep you cramped and insane your whole life. And it's the main obstacle between you and a shitty first draft. Okay, so that's where it comes from. And it gets, I hear it, as you can see, everybody, well, so many people have said that you have heard it. I embraced that belief because heck, it's famous, you know, it's famous writing. It's Ann freaking Lamotte. Who am I going to challenge to, or who am I to challenge her on this good advice? And yet it never felt good to me. I always thought shitty first draft, that makes me a shitty writer. And I had this little thing going on, and my inner critic would grab that and hold on to it. But I thought, because I think I'm so special, that it must just be me, and everybody else must think that this is the way to overcome perfection, and I'm just kind of weird like that. But in November of 2017, I did a course, an online course called Book on Fire, and I had 100 participants in that course who were really, really engaged. It was, I delivered a video every day with some mindset exercise in it. There were 15 days of this, and they were all around, you know, kind of overcoming the inner critic. And on day 5 or 6, I made a reference to people's shitty first draft. And oh my gosh, I got a tongue lashing from one participant who was an English second language person, but she had been the biggest cheerleader through this course. Always right in there and encouraging people, and the first one to do the exercise and to share her work. And she sent me a private message and she said, you know, I'm so angry with you. I'm going to drop out of this course and my feelings hurt. And she said she interpreted shitty first draft as something one flushes down the toilet. And she said, I'm not going to flush this. I'm going to keep working on it. And I realized at that point, I went and I apologized to the whole group. And it turned out that lots of people were like me, and they thought that they had an unusual reaction because this is such a common thing. So that set me on down a trail, which is pretty common for me. When I want to understand something, I go to academic research. I, unlike the two mistresses of master's degrees is beside me, don't have any extra letters after my name, but I've certainly done all of the reading to accomplish, I don't know, something, writing a book, I guess. So I dove in and started researching how we can overcome this, how these words applying shitty to our work can make some of us feel. And what I came up with was a lot of really interesting stuff. I actually took it and delivered workshops twice to live audiences, one at Creative Inc. and one at the Vancouver Public Library, both about 40 people, and had people work through the exercise that you're going to do today. And it turns out that actually it's kind of nice not to think of our books as shitty first drafts. So with all due respect to Ann Lamotte, that is what we're going to do today. I'm going to talk a little bit about something called semantic prosody. I'm not going to talk for long, but I just want to give you a little bit of the science because I geek out on this, and I want you to understand a little bit how it works and why our brain does this. So if there are questions or anything, you'll interrupt me. Yes? Okay, good. So semantic prosody is, I'm going to read this quote, which is a Wikipedia definition. Semantic prosody describes the way in which certain seemingly neutral words can be perceived with positive or negative associations through frequent occurrences with particular co-locations. That is a lot of $10 words. Okay, so what they showed was, these researchers, was that semantic prosody, the way we put words together, can exert a strong influence on our evaluative judgment, and that language and thought are heavily intertwined such that minor variations in wording can extract profound effects on our judgments and memory. Okay, so this made me very excited because we also know that when we have negative feelings and when we keep repeating negative things about our work, those tend to anchor themselves more deeply and quickly than when we have positive things that we think about our work, which is why in the mastermind group, we always start with celebrating even the smallest win, because we want to anchor that positive feeling that we have so that we can, even if we didn't accomplish what we hoped to, we want to kind of like push that to the side. It's really important to anchor the positive. So it just kept leading me down this, why are we as writers, especially newer writers, calling our work in progress shitty? It's how, you know, it felt to me like I was judging myself. Some of those other writers felt the same. And why do we want to associate all of those emotions with shitty? So we know that our first draft isn't going to be perfect. We know that our first time knitting a scarf or making meatballs or having sex even is something that we are going to get better at, right? It's going to take time and practice and revisions. We don't refer to, oh, my shitty first scarf, but we do that with our first draft. So when we're doing that, I'm just wondering, what are we telling our subconscious mind about that? I'm going to talk, I want to play a game. And this is going to be using the words that social science researchers used. And you can unmute yourselves for this. You can popcorn or write them in the chat. I guess it'll be a little less messy because you'll have an opportunity in the small breakout groups. We're going to break into 3 groups to actually talk out loud. So the way the social science researchers were researching semantic prosody was by using the words cause and produce, which are synonyms, and they're typically co-located, so they're found right beside phrases. And whether or not you use the word cause or produce, it creates either a positive or a negative feeling and emotion. So for instance, when you say, and you can type in your answers for this, I'm going to say the worker caused. What did the worker cause? The worker caused an accident. Ha, that's the first one that I have. An accident, a lot of work to get done, an accident, a riot, an accident, chain reaction. Okay, how about the worker produced? Havoc, I like havoc. The worker produced materials, good work, high productivity, quality, a report, excellent. Okay, produce and cause are synonyms. The fact that we have chosen, well, we just by nature of having those words beside something, we either make them positive or negative. Same thing, medication. We see this a lot in advertising for medication. So the medication caused, what did the medication cause? I want to see this. I hope they make me laugh. Side effects, complications. Oh, see, I was thinking gas. Death, yes, that is a complication. Erectile dysfunction. Okay, and then how about the medication produced? Palpitations. Amelia. Okay, great profits, desired outcome, euphoria. 2 people said euphoria. Woo! Whoa, 3 people. That's fantastic. Okay, so thinking of this idea of semantic prosody, shitty is a negative word, right? First draft is neutral. But when you apply cause and produce to shitty first draft, it's really hard to come up with a positive interpretation, even when you use the word produce. So if I say my shitty first draft caused, what do you say? Tears, yeah, me to fail. Angst, headache, disappointment, hair pulling. What about my shitty first draft produced? Oh, pride, okay. A lot of editing time, trash, a better seller, at least, happiness, laughs. Okay, I am glad to see some of you are sticking with the positive. I was still like 100,000 words of crap is where I went with my 100. So, but if we take off the shitty and just say my first draft caused and my first draft produced, do they feel as different, I guess, as the worker or the medication? Does it feel as negative when you say my first draft produced as my shitty first draft produced? My first draft produced a place to start. Not as negative, feels, yeah. Both are positive for you, Nicole. I love you are positive all the time. Okay, my first draft caused me to feel like I can write. It's better. Okay, and then if we take it just one step further, and this is where you're going to go with your exercise. If I say, my powerful first draft produced, or my powerful first draft caused, right? Like it could be the groundwork for an exceptional submission. It could be. So this is really important to me, the words that we use. And when in Mastermind, we never refer to shitty first drafts. We always refer to just our first drafts, or for me, it's always scrappy. And if people don't have their own, they'll grab my scrappy, because we all know what we're talking about. So with you, you're going to come up with something very specific to your own work. So a few examples from workshops that I've facilitated in person. A memoir writer decided that her work in progress was a faithful first draft, and that made her feel better about it. A picture book author called hers a silly first draft. A writer working on a novella about a private eye gave his story the power of a muscular tough draft. So I really love that. And I don't refer to my books, my work as first drafts because I'm one of those people who's kind of writing like this. I don't know when my first draft ends and my next revision starts. It all kind of just is. So that's why I say rough draft. And I'm going to read you one feedback that I got from someone who sent me an email after one of these workshops. She now thinks of her first draft as her stubborn story. She said she'd been working on it on and off for over 10 years. And she said, just adjusting the word from shitty to stubborn. This is what she said. Now, when I think about sitting down to write, I have this positive feeling of a story that will not leave me alone until I finish it, as opposed to how I'd been feeling like writing my book was a waste of time. So with all due respect to Ann Lamotte, saying that shitty can create, help us overcome the obstacle of procrastination. For some of us, it creates a new obstacle. And so with that as your preamble, Stephanie is going to split us up into breakout rooms. So everyone's going to have a chance to brainstorm your specific work in progress title and come up with that perfect procrastination buster description for your work in progress. And we'll stay in our breakout rooms for 20 minutes. Let's see. Let's say with this many people, 15 minutes. What do you think, Crystal and Eileen? 15 minutes? Okay, we'll stay for 15 minutes and then we'll come back and we'll share some of those. All right? Thank you.
I'm kidding.
I'll steal it just for me, but say it again.
Oh, there you go. For you, yes. Okay.
You have to say it out loud first.
Two cha-cha for words.
So cha-cha for words draft. Better when she says it. But everyone else, start putting yours in the chat windows. Oh, Donna came back. Yay.
You know how I got that two cha-cha for words? I owned a boutique in Louisiana before we moved to Texas, before we moved here. And I had a customer who used to come in and she knows that I'm from Cuba. So every time she would dress up, she would look at me and she'd say, look, do I look too cha-cha for words? And I was like, oh yeah. Perfect.
All right, so I cut PF off right in the middle of a sentence. Contemporary, let's see, where are you, PF? I can't see you, but I want to bring you back so you can finish your sentence.
Okay.
There we go.
I write contemporary romance, and I guess I would say invigorating
Oh,
first draft.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
because-
Do you know who P.F. Carlin is?
Shut
She's one of my
up.
boutique partners in Houston.
Shut up, Denise. And Christy Jones lives close to me too.
She's
Yeah.
waving to you too. Yeah.
Anyway, and nobody can see me because I'm in my pajamas and I'm laying on my bed and I look horrible. So, you know.
Oh, honey,
This
who
was
has gotten
unexpected.
out of their pajamas? You think anybody in here is wearing a
I
bra?
haven't changed my pajamas in 3 days.
Nobody in this room is wearing a bra. I'm willing.
Thank
right.
God you guys can't smell anything.
Okay.
Anyway,
We have an
the first draft always excites me to no extent. Whether it's wrong or right, it's just getting it on the paper.
yeah.
That's just,
Fantastic.
you know.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for coming back after you got cut off mid-sentence. And the let's see. Everyone's back. Paul, did you want to share? You gave us a couple of things that you didn't want to call it. You didn't want to call it spooky or your characters here. Did anything come up?
Yeah, I'll go with evocative.
Ah, evocative. Okay.
Evocation is one of the words in the title of the last book of the series. And saying that loud explains like evocation and evocative have very different sounds and implications, I think.
Yeah, evocative. That is nice. That's nice. Paul didn't want to use spooky for a ghost story. And what was your character's quality?
Anxious.
Anxious, right? Yes, we don't want to call our first drafts anxious. Sorry.
That
Somehow
describes me. Are you writing about me, Paul? Stop it.
All right. So what I would love is if you, well, to share, even if you shared something in the breakout room, we don't have a record of that. If you would be so kind as to share what you came up with for your first draft or your rough draft, or some folks, you know, it might be your second, third, or seventh draft so that you keep the enthusiasm. That's lovely for us, and we'll, you know, keep a record of that, maybe not associated with your name, but just so that we have that. And if anyone had any kind of an aha like the person who went from a shitty to a stubborn first draft, and that gave her the power to feel better. I'd love to know if anyone had any experience like that. And I think what you'll have to do, because I can't see everybody, is just unmute yourself and start talking.
Hey, Donna.
Yes.
One thing, this is Christy. One thing that I got out of this is that I like the idea of renaming every subsequent draft. So like my first draft would be like my fun, sexy first draft. And then my second draft, though, I think would be more my, I mean, I'm not going to share all the different ideas because I haven't decided on them yet, but I just think as I go along, I was telling everybody in the breakout session that I'm really a big perfectionist, which is a problem because I have no problem with first drafts, but it's my second and third draft where I get hung up because I start seeing nothing but flaws. So that would be a good place for me to rename things. So I think in the future, I'm going to name every draft to try to get away from that negativity. So thank you.
Fun.
And Donna, Amelia has a question. She wants to know, her main character is very untrusting. So I think she's not wanting to use untrustworthy draft.
Right, that's right. Well, okay, so what if, does your main character have a change of character? Like, do they go from untrustworthy? Is there a change? Where are you, Amelia? There you
have to, pardon me, I have laryngitis.
Oh, no.
But I like stubborn because that's her main characteristic. She's very stubborn. She's a disabled young adult and is just stubbornly pushing her way through and making things work for her. But she also doesn't trust people. And so she's doing everything herself. And so the book slowly progresses to where she's finally able to trust those in her team. She's actually a member of a military group.
Oh, wow. Wow. So there's a lot. Yeah, people are coming up with, I mean, if stubborn works for you, that's fabulous. And I think that works beautifully for a first draft too, when you're thinking of your own, but strong-willed, persistent, self-protective, defensive. Let's see. So there are some other ideas for you there. And that's thank you for raising that, Amelia. Yeah, other folks have mentioned that their characters don't have the qualities that they would want to be associating with their book. But if there's a change or, they probably have a redeeming quality as well. We might think of those. Militant first draft, Kit. That's brilliant. I don't know if it resonates with Amelia, but it just makes me happy.
Donna, can I tell you something? When you said if there was anything other than untrusting, what I'm thinking, and this is for myself maybe, if I was to think of a negative word, go to like word hippo or thesaurus and look at what the opposite is, because that might drive you further than trying to, ring yourself in with a negative.
Mm-hmm. Good call. Very good call, Denise. Thank you. All right. So anyone else? Hop in. Gonna give you extra time with your date night tonight.
I think this is a very positive exercise. I really like it. When I was in my writers group, that's one thing that she made us do. You cannot criticize your work. I mean, obviously you have to be realistic and look at it, but don't just be negative about it. It's not going to help. It's not going to help you get it done.
Thank you, Stephanie. Stephanie Spearwriter.
I agree that the word choice is really important. It's like last week I did this really great course with Scribe Online, but their word that they insist on is the vomit draft.
Oh.
And it's so important that you have to get it out. And they're talking about that like it's a positive thing. And there's nothing I'd rather not do. It was the worst possible phrase to use, like vomit draft. No, I'm never ever going to do this. And so coming up with whatever word that works for you, for us, coming up with a nice word that also implies you get it out, but without those negative connotations, I think is going to be really important for everybody.
Thank you, Paul.
In our group, Paul, we talked about Michelangelo's theory that the statue is always in the marble. You just have to chip it away. Yeah. So rather than vomit, you could it's my chip away draft. Like I need to get everything out there so I can chip away what's important. Yeah, we were also not vomit.
One of the ways that I always talk about the first draft specifically is the concept of making clay. So once we have a first draft, we can sculpt it, but the first draft is actually the creation of the clay that you're going to use to then sculpt it into what you want it to be.
And that is good advice. That from Bonnie Goldberg, who is not showing her face, who has written one of my, literally, it's the go-to book that sits on my desk for when I get stuck. Oh, but it's over there now because I was writing in bed. And it's called Room to Write. And it's got just the greatest prompts, which she's been sharing this week. Anyway, thank you, Bonnie. Anyone else?
Which is a good reminder if people have seen, Bonnie is leaving a prompt every day. So if people are having a hard time getting themselves going, make sure you check that out.
What is sort of a maquette? What does that mean, Emiko? I don't know what a maquette is. Can anyone enlighten me? Okay. Well, I will just have to Google that afterwards. I love it. All right.
I just Googled it. A sculptor's small preliminary model or sketch.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Perfect. All right. There we go. Okay, Sylvia, thank you. Okay. Thank you for showing up on Friday night. I hope that you got some value out of this. Feel free to continue to share in let's see, the motivation and accountability group is where you'll find me. Very little recorded. I actually have a few more exercises from that course that I did, which this was not actually part of that because it came after it came out of that course, but some of those mindset activities are in the motivation and accountability group, which is purple. And the masterminds meet on Tuesday nights at 7 and Thursdays at 10. And that's where all the other smart people who are in this group come and help troubleshoot and make us all feel really fabulous about the fact that we're writers and we have community. So that's it. Crystal and Eileen, thank you so much for taking a third and a third of this group. Couldn't have done it without you. Stephanie, thank you so much. No, this was all good. This is all good. We are all learning. And now that the week is over, I'm feeling a Carol Burnett song coming on. I'm so glad we had this time together.
Okay, stop
Over. We have 2 more days. Don't
Well, no,
about making us get off this boat yet. Hello.
I'm not.
Don't rush us away.
I'm starting to miss you already. Okay. I'm gonna make
No, no,
myself
no.
cry. Goodbye, everybody. Have a great
Well,
week.
reminder, 11 a.m. tomorrow is Mary Robinette Coel doing the mice quotient. So if you're looking for structure, that'll definitely be a good one. And at 1 o'clock, we have Eric Reed and a fancy group of YA authors, also with like a wide range of LGBTQ issues and various things from there. So be sure to join us at 1 o'clock and 11.
And on Sunday, we still have more.
The Susanna Kearsley. So
yeah. So, all right. Thank you all. Have a great
Good night, everyone.
Thanks for coming.
All right, some books.
Good night.
Good
Thank you
night.
guys. Again, thank you for
Thanks.
a great week.
Bye, Kevin. Bye, Christine. Bye,
Bye.
Rebecca. Bye, Sylvia.
Thank you,
Kit,
Donna.
Simon. Bye. Thank you.
Dude, you're all like leaving ninjas now. There's
I know.
you're all getting so good at
Figured it out.
leaving the room. Boom, that was like mass exodus.
All right.
Bye, Margarita.
All right. Oh, I can stop recording. Who stops?
Yeah.